Founder of Ergo's Mind, he uses his skill, expertise, experience which he has gained during his corporate stint to add value to corporate organization and educational institutions. He specializes in leadership, and his goal is to help people become the best version of themselves. He's certified executive and life coach, as well as certified heart styles coach and assessor. He has over 25 years of experience in corporate world, having worked for some of the leading business entities, which include the Tatas and the Birlas. Let's give a warm round of applause and welcome Rajiv Chelladurai.
Okay, so good evening. Good evening. You do that better. You do that better. Good evening.
Good evening.
I know you guys have had a long day, tiring day. I can completely understand it, but I really believe it's been an enriching day. So I stand between you and perhaps the cocktails. I saw them preparing that out, right? So I'm not going to prolong your wait, but I want to just conclude the day and put everything into context, right? That's what I'm going to be actually doing. But before we get anywhere, may I just request you to stand to your feet? Can you stand to your feet? Can you shake a little bit, just stretch out a little bit, get that blood circulation moving? Thanks for that. That's awesome. Okay, we're going to do a game, and maybe you've done this game before, but I've done this game several times, and everybody's attention. And I've done this game several times and I still get confused about this game, okay? But I need your participation for that. You're going to get a little bit of music playing, but don't cut this mic off. They're going to hear me. Very simple instructions, okay? When I say walk, you're just going to walk around, okay? Don't walk out. Don't walk out. Walk out is not the command. You just walk around. Can you walk around? Walk. Just walk around. Okay, thank you. And when I say clap, you stop.
Everybody clap.
When I say clap, you clap.
Clap.
Stop walking. Clap.
Clap your hands. All right now, we're going to do the basic step. To the left. Take it up there, y'all. One out this time. Right foot, let's start. Left foot, let's start. Cha-cha, real smooth.
Too much energy happening right now. When I say name, please shout out your name, please.
To the left.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, name. Okay, we're going to do it all over again. Okay, very simple. When I say walk, you walk. When I say clap, stop walking and just clap. And when I say name, shout out your name. Simple. Everybody, all understood? Okay, let's go. Walk. Keep walking. Yeah, keep walking. Okay, everybody, clap. Awesome. Go on. Okay, everybody name. Awesome. Look at that. Brilliant. You're going to add some complexity to it right now. Now when I say walk, you don't walk.
Let's go to work.
You clap. Okay? When I say walk, what do? You clap. Okay, and when I say clap, you don't walk. You say your name. That's great. And when you say name, you walk. Simple? Okay, and you catch anybody else doing something else, you're free to do whatever you want with that person. Okay? Okay, so let's start. Let everybody clap. Excellent. Good. Everybody name. No clapping. Who asked you to clap? Name is walk. Okay? And everybody walk. Everybody clap. Everybody name. Everybody walk. Awesome. Give yourself a round of applause. And you can take your seats, right? And the moral of this exercise, frankly, there's no moral. Okay? But just to get some blood flowing, that was the whole idea of this exercise. Hey, but you know what? I'm so happy. You walked out. That's great. I want to conclude today's session. I want to conclude by talking about the first P. I sat, I heard some of the discussions, and promise you, I've learned a lot. Not being part of your industry, but I picked up a lot. Okay, and the 3 P's: people, process, platform. Okay, or technology, and all the technology is embedded in the platform. I want to talk to you about the first P, and that's people. Okay, and I want to talk to you about leadership. And if you just get the slides on, please. Yeah. Yes, thank you. I want to talk to you about making leadership work. It's a subject that's been spoken so much about, so many books written, but yet somewhere there's a gap. Yet somewhere there's a gap. I want to start talking to you about an incident that happened in September 2021, the Russian Grand Prix. The Russian Grand Prix. Okay, for almost 46 of the 52 odd laps, or 51 odd laps was almost done. Okay, and you had the McLaren team right up front. Okay, and you had this driver, just to get his name, Lando Norris, leading that race. It was almost certain that he's going to win that championship. I mean, win that Grand Prix. Conditions looked perfect. The sun seemed to be shining. The track was comfortable. But all of a sudden, there was information that was coming in to every driver from the pit, saying there is information that there's going to be rain. So you may want to change your tires to the wet tires. You know, they have these wet tires and dry tires and all of that stuff. You may want to change it to wet tires. The Grand Prix is going towards the climax. And what decision will you take? The same information went to almost everybody. The Mercedes driver, and his name is Lewis Hamilton. He got the info, and he quickly responded to that info. You know, the pit stop meant that, in a sense, that he was kind of losing momentum. I mean, not just for him, for everybody else. It was the last few laps. What are you going to do? And Lewis Hamilton decided to go follow the instructions from his team. And he said, I'm coming in. Went in, got his tires. But the other gentleman, Lando Norris, in fact became belligerent. When he heard the instructions from his team, he said, just shut up. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to pull this off. And he didn't pick up that instructions. Long story short, from leading that race, he actually ended up number 7, if I'm not mistaken. You know, if only he had heard that instruction, if only he took that pit stop, perhaps he could have just won it. You see, from that incident, I learned a lot about leadership. I learned a lot about teams. I learned a lot about personal goals versus team goals. I learned a lot about trust. I learned a lot about, about respecting each other as a team so that we win together. And today I want to talk to you about leadership. And what is leadership? Well, many definitions, and here's my favorite. Leadership is influencing others to behave in a manner so as to achieve a common goal. That's what, and leadership, you ask me what's the other synonym for leadership, it's just one word, and that one word is influence. And if we all can influence our teams, if we can influence each other, if we can influence a customer, if we can influence, that's when you and me are practicing leadership. It's not a title, it's not a designation, but it's all about the exercise of influence. And if you look at it, right, what makes teams work? It's the quality of leadership. Significance or mediocrity, excellence or ineffectiveness. All of it lies in just the quality of leadership. Allow me very quickly to take you through what I call the 10 commandments of leadership, of making leadership work. We heard about the AIM 30. Okay, I want to talk to you about the 10C of leadership, right? The first one is about leading self. And I think one of the largest gaps of leadership is the gap between leading others and leading business is this gap of leading self, right? I like to represent it this way. I mean, we learn so much about leading businesses. You can go to B school, you can read up, you can do micro courses, you can certifications, you can do all of it and learn about how you lead businesses. And that's great, and you must do it. And then there's this whole aspect of leading others. You know, we're not taught about leading others in school. We're not taught about leading others in college. So how do you pick it up, leading others? Well, we pick up about leading others through our experiences. We pick up about leading others through others' experiences. And you know, that is a pretty long drawn process, and in the process you end up making mistakes. But you learn it somehow. And I think if you're sitting in this room, perhaps you've learned it. How can you lead others? But if you're sitting in this room, you definitely know how to lead business, and it's a continuous journey, and we continue to learn. I love the last session that Kalyan was talking about, the whole thing about collaborative and you know, the whole, what's the other one? Transactional, right? Consultative and transactional, right? Lovely session, real life examples. You can learn about leading business, you can learn about leading others, but if you are not plugging this gap of leading self, you know, that's where the whole thing falls away. The rubber doesn't hit the road because of this gap. Or leading self. What is leading self? Leading self is being aligned to my own values and my own convictions and my own goals, my aspirations, and all of that is aligned to the team goal and the team aspirations. And when that alignment is there between personal and corporate, between self and team, that's when teams move from being a group of people to becoming a team. Let me ask you this question. Are you a group of people or are you a team?
We're a team.
Thank you so much for saying that. But I want you to think about that question. Even the teams that you lead, are you a group of people or are you a team? So the first point I want to leave you with is about leading self. The second, I want to talk to you about character and competence. Character is doing the right thing. Competence is doing things right. And that's a debate, isn't it? And we have a right answer. Sometimes we can say politically right. Is it an and or is it an or? Is it about character or is it character and competence? I think the answer is very straightforward, and it's not a politically right answer. It is an answer if you're looking at sustainable success, if you're looking at creating value for your customer, for all your stakeholders, right? It's an and. And I very quickly want to take you through this grid. You have character and you have competence. Character, doing the right thing. Competence, doing things right. You know, when you're high on character and you're low on competence, you're the idealist, you're the preacher, right? I mean, you're saying this is how we should do the right thing. You know, even if we are not going to meet our numbers, we're not going to create value for our stakeholders, not going to create, that's okay, market share, it's okay. Hey, but I don't think you can't do a business for profit being an idealist. And don't get me wrong, until you see all the three other quadrants. The other quadrant is you're low on character and you're high on competence. This is the person who says, hey, frankly, I don't care how you do it, but I need the results. The means don't matter. End there. So, beg, follow, steal, do what you want, but get the results. So I call this person the mercenary. Not sustainable over a long period of time. Neither are. Both are extreme positions. The next one that I want to talk to you about is somebody who's low on character, low on competence. Man, this is the most dangerous category. This person, frankly, is very dangerous, lethal for any team. Right? Because the competence, yeah, you can build on competence, you can develop, you can train, you can do all of that stuff. But if character is not there, it's a sunk ship. And you'll go down with that as well. And the last is high character, high competence. This is the effective leader. This is the continual learner. This is the constant improver. This is the one who wants to progress and is moving forward, who looks for validation from within and not so much from outside alone. Character and competence. That's the second principle I want to talk to you about. The third I want to talk to you about is values. Innovate, incubate, invent, one-stop shop for transformation, solution provider, right? I love that. I love that. But I want to ask you, are you living it out? Or are they just nice sounding cliche and fancy signboards which adorn our walls, which hopefully you're hoping somebody reads, but nobody reads it, or probably it's under your signature on your email? Well and good. It's not going to matter. I want to tell you, values, you can't need to be caught, not just taught. Right? So my question to all of you, my challenge to all of you, as I conclude this day for you, by the way, this is my putting everything together, is can you define, innovate, incubate, invent in terms of behaviors? What is innovate in a behavior? A day-to-day behavior. What is incubate as a day-to-day behavior? What is invent as a day-to-day behavior? And how is it for you? And how is it for your one-downs? And how is it for everybody else? How does your customer experience innovate, incubate, invent? And every time you put your head on the pillow in the night, you ask yourself this question: hey, did I innovate today? Did I incubate today? Did I invent today? Or did I just go through the motions of life? Right? Values. And are you living out the values for others to actually, for your team members to embrace? That's number 3. Number 4 is about real-time communication. I'm going to just play a video for you, and hopefully it'll come up now. Watch this video, please.
Especially thinking plan B.
Go for it.
Mission control is really essential to the whole weekend, how the team operates, the performance we can extract from the car, the results we ultimately end up with on Sunday. It doesn't matter where the race team is, like why are in the world, we're in Australia, Japan, massive time differences. Mission control operates real time in direct communication with the track. Our intercom system is split down into a number of different channels, and there's different conversations that happen in those channels, often at the same time.
When you're working live during a race, you're often listening to 15 to 20 different channels, and that can be a lot of noise going on, so it's very important to keep communication short, succinct, and to the point.
Box this step.
The biggest pressure points in a race are always going to be around the pit stops. You've got to be ready. You've got to plan ahead for those scenarios and know what's going to be best for your car.
You've got a single pit stop, and that's where your strategy, your entire weekend is made or broke. A lot of analysis goes into that, and up to that point, you think you've got it right, or you at least hope you've got it right. And then, you wait and you watch the pit stop and you hope it's a good pit stop, and then the car releases. When something's gone well, the chief come out in the right position post pit stop, and it's a good result for the team. That's all because the communication that we've had in mission control, the communication to the track, the communication to the driver, that's all really paid off, and everyone's been on board with the plan.
There's so much information, and anything going missing could really cost you on track. Therefore, it's really important to have clear and reliable audio equipment.
With EPOS, clear communication is essential with everything we do.
Okay, so this was just to show the level of communication that's actually happening. They have something called as telemetry, and you guys will understand this language much better than me. I'm not technologically inclined. But telemetry sensors embedded in the car, which are throwing real-time information to the crew in the pit stop, as well as engineers in the factory, automobile factory, thousands of miles away. Wherever the race is happening, there's real-time information coming, real-time analysis are coming, and real-time, kind of insights that are actually coming, which are again relayed back to the team and to the driver. The driving skill is important, but you remove all these other constant communication and insight and action on that insight, you can never win that race. And for me, I think that's such an important point, right? The important point is about the whole communication process. When you are trying to drive disruption, has your communication strategy changed? Has your communication strategy changed? From what it was to the disruption that you want to create, what's the change in your communication strategy? There's no change in your communication strategy. Like somebody beautifully said, if you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got. Right? And communication, talking about communication. Well, communication needs to be clear. Does the last man standing in your organization or woman standing in the organization know what you were talking about? Clarity. Is it consistent? Which means what you decide from this meeting and you go out 3 days from now, right? Is it going to be consistent? Yeah, there will be changes. You need to adapt. But is there consistency in communication? Consistency can also mean, hey, you know what, this department says this function says something else. Consistent communication. Is your communication complete? Or is that leaving your people hanging for something more? It needs to be complete. And finally, I'll add one more C to communication. Communication, the most effective form of communication is conversation. You know, are you conversing with your teams? Are you having, what is the level of conversation that's happening? And I want to challenge you all. If your level of emailing is more than your level of conversations, I don't think you'll create disruption. I'm not saying don't use email, that's not what I'm saying. Because email is not so personal, by the way. But conversation is personal. Conversation is consultative. Can you get into conversations is what I will actually talk to you about. Moving quickly to number 5, which is flexible approach. You got to be rigid about your values, but flexible about your approach, right? Race, disruption, all of this is actually happening so fast, right? You know, you can't deviate from your values, but you got to be flexible about and nimble and agile. You guys use these words, right? How flexible are you on your approach for different conditions? Who is sensing the winds of change and who is saying, hey, you know what, I think we need to change this. So I encourage you as a team to be rigid with your values. You're not flexible with your values, but you're flexible with your approach. Number 6 would be about trustworthy leaders. I want you to see this video. It's pretty scary. But you've seen it several times, right? Sorry. Can you go back? Yeah, can you play this video? And as you watch this video, I want to give you some facts. A screaming F1 projectile weighing about 500 kgs, coming at you at 100 kilometers speed. And you are the Jackman, as they call it, the guy standing in front as that car comes in. At 100 kilometers speed, and just hoping that it will stop in front of you. My question is this. Do you have Jackman trust in your organization? Jackman trust. I mean, I don't know whether I would do that standing there, but that man does it. And he's the most vital role in that whole thing, in that pit stop. This is a pit stop for you right now. 3 days. This is your pit stop. And I think one thing that you guys need to move out of this room when you move out is having Jackman trust. Jackman trust. What is trust, by the way? Trust is that complete dependence. Trust is that reliance. Trust is that confidence. And by the way, I want to talk about relationship equity very quickly. Just like every bank account, trust has also got its debits and credits. It's got its debits and credits, as in every relationship, right? My question is, are you making more credits than debits? And you need to go across the organization and say, measure that relationship equity. And I promise you that if you're able to move into a situation that there are more credits than debits, this team will be unstoppable. This team will be unstoppable. So I think one of the areas, perhaps, if I have the liberty of suggesting, as you aim for disruption and to be that one-stop shop for transformation, is what is the relationship equity? What is that Jackman trust level in the overall team, the leadership team? You guys are the leadership team here, right? And the teams below, what is the level of trust? Moving on. I think Kalyan was talking about the point, I think when Sachs was making the point. This was about, I like to call this, right? Awareness equals to success. Awareness is equal to success. How aware are we? And there's an interesting anecdote about Michael Schumacher, the great Michael Schumacher, Ferrari legend. Even before he achieved that legendary status, apparently he would be somebody who would sit with the mechanics and the crew hours after the race and hours before the race and even days before the race. He would just hang out with them because you know what? He had great driving skill. But he wanted to understand everything about the car, the nuts, the bolts, the engine, everything. And he would spend long hours just hanging out with them. That was not his job. His job was to drive as fast as he could. His job was to maneuver that car. His job was to get the pole position. His job was to get the championship. But he realized, I know how to drive, but I need to be aware of everything about this automobile. Right? And I want to ask you this question. I think that's the point which I think last session is just coming into this. As I conclude this, is are you aware about your customers? And I'm talking about internal customers and external customers. How many of you guys know each other really in the room? Really know each other. Not about this person. Hi, how are you? I saw you the last time kick-off meeting. No. Really know. Internal. External. Do you know your customer? You should know your product, but I think you should equally or even more know about your customer situation. Where is he or she coming from? What are their pain points? You've heard a lot about it. I'm not going to repeat it, but I'm summarizing all that was spoken. Consultative approach. Unless you know, you can't use the consultative approach. In fact, I think we should be listening more than talking in that meeting with the client. Right? And I think Kalyan mentioned, you got to know about your customer and you got to know about your customer's customer as well. I thought that was fabulous. Because for me, the definition is very clear about efficiency and effectiveness. Something else I learned today is about awareness is equal to success. The greater your level of awareness, greater your probability of success. And I want to tell you, life's changed so fast, friends. If you haven't known what's happened, well, 2020 has happened and changed the way we live. And you're thinking, I can keep doing what I did before 2020, wake up and smell the coffee. Life's changed. You've got to be knowing more and awareness, right? So, I want to just bring this to a close as I talk about, it's not just about seeing the opportunity, but it's about seizing the opportunity. And this is about Sebastian Vettel, who just broke into this world. He was the rookie driver when he started, 2007 if I'm not mistaken. Rookie driver, he got lucky, he was talented obviously, he was given the opportunity. It was okay to race and get some kind of you're not expected to win, you're not expected to even get points. But you know what? In his debut race, he got points. And 1 year later becomes like almost the youngest guy, 21 years, to win that Grand Prix. He won it at Monza for Toro Rosso. 21 years. Somebody said that, when they climbed the scale Mount Everest, right? It's an arduous journey, it's life-threatening, it's difficult, you can hardly breathe as you climb and reach the summit, and even taking each step, right, you got to really just talk to yourself and tell yourself, I want to move my right foot, and every step, you're running out of oxygen, your lungs are, are really fragile, just breathing heavily for every step. But you know what they instruct the guys who go to the summit? Don't relax once you reach the peak. Most people die while reaching the peak. Because they have to realize that once they've reached the peak, the euphoria, the adrenaline is kicking, you've got the whole journey to make it down again. And sometimes, we think, okay, we've got this opportunity, but it's not about just seeing the opportunity, it's about seizing the opportunity. And the good thing, if at all you can say good thing about the pandemic, but I'm saying it very carefully, if at all you can say anything good, you don't need to go out there and create disruption. There's a whole disruption out there already for you. In fact, I would think a reset button has been pressed. And all those supposed to be market leaders, they've all pulled back and they're all standing in, taking the running position, waiting for the gun to go off again. Market leaders in the past have also come back. There's a reset. It's an equal game, equal opportunity out there. But the question is, 3I. Are you seeing the opportunity, or are you going to go out there and seize the opportunity? That is the question. What needs to change, right? What are your excuses? What are you saying? No, we are not so large. Competitors are larger. They've got deeper pockets there. It's reset right now. Your only excuse is what you allow yourself to believe. Moving on to 9. It's about heart and mind leadership. It's about not just what the mind knows, and sometimes, I think we need all the expertise, but it's also about what the heart feels. And very often the gap between the non-alignment between the heart and the mind is where the greatest leadership gap goes. I was sitting in the afternoon, there was a great question that came from behind, and the question was about resilience. I said, wow, what a fabulous question that is. Do you have the resilience? I want to talk to you about a 18-year-old girl. This 18-year-old girl, for the last 2.5 years, studying very hard, sleeping about 4.5 hours every night, preparing for the NEET exam, the medical entrance exam. There's a little bit of history of this girl. When this girl was 16, she was detected with ganglioneuroblastoma, which is a form of a cancer. Okay, she went through the treatment, 2017 end, 18 was said that she was cancer-free, life seemed to be good, and therefore she was doing her best and doing really well. Wrote the NEET exam, and just 1 week before the results were to come, discovered that the cancer had relapsed. She's got the marks, she can qualify and get a medical seat, but she can't, she needs to go for treatment. 8 months of treatment. And this young girl I talked to you about is my daughter. Even today, she was in chemotherapy. Final session of second cycle of chemo. 1 more cycle to go of 5 days. But she looked at me and I was demolished when I heard the news. Because of knowing all the effort that had gone by. But she looked at me and said, Pa, 2 ways to look at it. 1, to feel sorry. Second is to say, I've got 6-8 months to prepare more and give the NEET exam again to get a higher mark, and maybe I'll get in a far better college than what I've got now. And that shook me. Because for me, I wasn't thinking that way. I was thinking, poor me, poor old me. Why did this happen to me? Why did this happen to my daughter? And often I realize that kind of thinking will not get us forward. It will just take us back. But when you're able to look and say, what is the opportunity here? Amongst this crisis, what is the opportunity? I put up a message every day on LinkedIn tweet, it's called Writing on the Wall. And I said, it's crisis and not comfort that births champions. It's crisis and not comfort that births champions. I think this whole pandemic crisis is really an opportunity for you guys to actually look at it. Heart and mind, resilience. Heart and mind, empathy. Heart and mind, can I be considerate? Heart and mind, can I listen? heart and mind can I converse? You have all the expertise, you have all the, but you need the heart and mind. That's going to close the leadership gap. And finally, I've been saying I want to finish, I promise you with this I finished, is you're doing a lot on the technology side, on the process side. Please do it by all means, continue to do more of it. But I want to tell you, at the end of the day, the difference between significant teams, organizations, and stagnant teams and organizations is just leadership. And all of you are leaders. It's not just the MD and CEO who's a leader, right? But it's every one of you who has the power to influence as a leader. And remember this, leadership growth leads to revenue growth. Leadership growth leads to revenue growth. And it's also about leaders across the length and breadth of the organization. I want to leave you with these 10 commandments. I think Priya's got the slides. Feel free to share it with the team. Happy to share it. So these are the 10 commandments of leadership. Just bringing to close all that was discussed today. And hey, if you want to reach me, this is where you can find me, LinkedIn, Twitter. It's been an absolute pleasure. You've been a great audience. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Rajiv. A lot of